maybe it's a journey na the more you submit to God what's wrong with you. Lagi akong ganun, Lord, ito yung problema sa akin. And I feel so helpless because sino bang may gusto na may mali, may problema sa sarili nila.
They're also watching us on YouTube. Wow! That is so amazing, right?
At syempre, ang motto natin sa Kwentuhan is substance over status.
But again, we have to bloom where we are planted.
I have to be able to appreciate other people's beauty without doubting my own.
We have unique lives and stories to tell.
Yung mga blessings is also our responsibility.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of
KwentoJuan! What's up, everybody? Grabe!
Sobrang excited ko ngayon.
Ako din, sobra.
Kasi sobrang special at malapit sa atin yung guest natin for today.
Talaga ba?
Oo naman. Hindi lang sa atin, pero sa mga nakikinig sa atin.
Oo.
Lalo na sa mga times na broken-hearted sila. Di ba?
Oo. Pero bago natin pag-usapan yung ating guest, ako, sobrang excited ako kasi nasa ibang lugar na naman tayo.
Oo, grabe.
Hindi naman ako na-inform na tong KwentoJuan pala. Ano pala to, tour?
Location tour.
KwentoJuan.
Talaga.
Ang manager niya si Les Tour.
Okay.
Okay.
Tapos yung merienda tour ron. Okay, let's go.
Sige.
So kayo, sino pa yung ibang artists na gusto nyo balang araw na makakollab na?
Ako lalakihan ko na yung pangarap ko.
Sige.
Si Rosé.
Wow.
Blackpink.
Yes.
In your area. Crush ko yun eh. Tsaka si Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Ariana
Bieber.
Grande. Diba?
Wow.
The Weeknd. The Weeknd. And
Ikaw,
the weekdays.
Sino?
Ako, Hindi, ako, syempre Lainey. Di ba nag-cover na tayo ng song nila? Sana
Lucha?
next time,
Lainey
kasama
sa Lucha?
sila. Hindi,
Sino ba?
Lainey.
Yung banda.
Kahit front up, no? Kahit
Oo, front
lang.
up.
Nag-isip ako joke, wala na. Lainey yun, Lainey. Ikaw, Kuya Carl.
Ako? Ako si Sarah Geronimo.
Sorry.
Ayun.
Ako,
Oo nga.
ganun.
Si Josh Gaya, lahat na lang.
Si Japs, gusto mo, Carl?
Ha?
Kakabulaw.
Oo nga.
Japs Mendoza?
Oo.
Si Julian.
Oo.
Mendoza? Ikaw si Si Keiko?
Hindi, ako si
Sino?
Lainey nga, di
Si
ba?
Kai, di ba? Si Kai.
Ako, feeling ko si Kai.
Si Kyla.
Kayla?
Hindi.
Tolentino?
Hindi. Si Kai. Kyrie Irving.
Si
Grabe.
Kael. Kasi Kael.
Tologo.
Ako, ganun lang din.
Si
Kagaya ng mga idols
Si Kael,
natin.
si Madonna.
Madonna.
Ako sana si Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Paano yun?
Sa kabilang buhay na.
Ako si James Reid.
Be careful what you wish for.
Pero wag soon. Sana
Okay,
mga
okay.
centuries after.
Ako meron akong dream
Sino?
ko.
Sige, ikaw ulit. Josh.
Hindi, pero nangyari na.
Sino?
Siya yung guest natin ngayon.
Diba? Galing mo doon.
Kaso tayo palang nakakaalam na nag-collab.
Oo nga pala.
Hindi, napanood na
Ay,
nila.
hindi, meron.
Okay. Naalala
Oo
mo
nga pala.
na, nag-perform tayo sa SOP.
Hindi!
Asap!
Asap.
Baka di na tayo kunin. Asap po.
Okay na?
Hindi, okay.
Let's go!
Nag-collab tayo sa ASAP.
Oo.
At napanood to ng mga tao.
Oo.
At talagang maraming nasaktan. At ngayong araw, mananakit tayo ulit. Itotodo na natin ang sakit dahil 12 episode na natin to. Grabe. So,
Sagara na.
sagad na natin.
Sagad.
Sagara na ang hugutan
Sagad na
dito
natin.
sa KwentoJuan. Itong guest natin, tagal na natin siyang friends. Especially kami ni Japs nung nagsisimula yung The Juans. Nakakasama natin sa mga gigs, di ba? Kahit sa church, sa Ignite, leading worship, ganyan. And na-interview ko na siya before. And kabatch mo sa Japs sa The Voice, di ba?
Yes. Kabatch ko siya sa The Voice.
So, ano yung first impression mo sa
Mainhin. Pero mainhin talaga siya that time. Oo, gano'n. Mainhin. Tapos, nung mga time na yun, starstruck ako sa kanya kasi nilulook up ko na siya noon eh. Siya yung mga kumakanta sa mga commercials. Di ba?
Di ba yung
So, nung nakita ko si Moy, mas mahinhin ako kay Moy. Mas mahinhin ako sa'yo. Pero ngayon, hindi na kami mahinhin. Ano na kami?
Palaban.
Nung nakita kayo, ganyan lang kayo, ganun. Ako
Ikaw.
naman, ang first encounter ko kay Mo, hindi niya to alam eh. May show ka nun. parang One Direction listening party.
Yes.
Tapos nakita ko siya nagvi-video greet ng mga international fans.
Wow.
Tapos sabi mo, yan si Moira, yan yung sa mga commercial, ganyan. Grabe, big time yan, international yan. So ako sobrang, si Moira. Ganun.
Moira.
Oo. So sobrang honored ako na makasama natin siya muli this time sa Kwento Juan.
Juan.
Ba't sinabi na natin yung pangalan?
Hindi, i-bleep na lang. Beep.
Si ganito.
Hindi, Moy pa lang naman hindi
si
pa
Moy.
kompleto. Malay mo.
Malay mo,
marami,
iba.
marami pang Moy.
So mga kaibigan Juanistas, mga kakwento Juan, let's all welcome Moira de la Torre Hernandez.
Yeah!
Yay! Ang hinhin naman ng entry niya.
Hi, everyone.
Hi Moy! Welcome to Kwento Juan.
Hey, guys.
And thank you pinagbigyan mo kami. Alam namin na sobrang busy mo. Galing to si Moy
Anytime for you guys.
sa iba-ibang lugar na talagang far-flung places.
Oo,
Pero
ano?
nagpunta siya sa Metro Manila ulit.
Oo. Para lang sa kwento.
Para lang
Uwi
sa atin.
ako para sa aso ko. Tapos, na nagkataon na kailangan niyo ako.
Grabe.
So, ayun.
What an honor to be
Grabe.
next to the dog. Yung dog ba na? Hindi ikaw. Hindi ka dog.
Ito, lumalapit.
Hindi ka dog.
Wait lang daw. Pause muna daw. Pause.
Yan.
Pause daw muna. Pause. Sige na.
Sige na, daan ka na.
Is that the dog?
Okay na. So, going back to where
I'm
are.
very happy to be here. I'm always happy to be with you guys. For the last, actually, guys, one of my very first interviews was with Carl.
talaga ba?
That is one of my first interviews.
Sa jam.
Sa jam.
Sa jam.
Yeah. And we were talking about you
Napanood
singing
ko
on commercials, being a very popular
Yes.
voice and everything. And now you are even more popular. I think the whole nation knows about Moira.
True.
Yeah.
Diba? And
Whole
the
world.
songs. And sobrang nakakakilig na kilala mo pa kami, hindi mo kami nakalimutan. Hindi talagang
Grabe
Close to
naman.
friends,
Buti
ganyan.
nga kilala niyo pa ako.
wow.
I love you guys. I love you guys. That's real. I mean it.
Naalala ko, ayoko na sabihin. Naiya ako.
Sige na.
Sige na.
mo na.
Feeling na.
Naalala mo
Memory
ba?
time, memory time.
Total pass naman na to, tsaka married na happily married na si Moy. Naalala mo, like, nasa music hall tayo. Tapos, sabi ko, why are you single? Tapos sabi mo, nililigawan ka ni Jason. Tapos sabi ko, pag hindi kayo nag-work, ako naman. Do you remember that? Wala lang, share ko lang. Hindi, ganun kami ka-casual.
Hindi, tsaka naalala ko
Ganun
nun,
kayo ka-close.
sobrang friends na talaga kayo
Nalimutan ko
dati
na
pa.
yun.
Sabi mo pa, okay. Pero parang malapit ka na sasagutin. Sabi mo sa
Anong age ka nag-start na i-pursue music or nag-start lang kumanta, ganun?
Well, I started singing in church. So I don't really know how old I was when I started singing. But I started writing, I was 13. 12, sorry. I was 12. And it was meant to be an outlet. You know, I was going through stuff. I was anorexic. I was dealing with a broken family. And I didn't know what I was going through at that time. Wala siyang pangalan. Alam mo yung pinagdadaanan mo siya pero hindi mo siya ma-label kasi hindi mo pa alam yung mga terms na yon. So at that time, wala akong ibang outlet. And it also happened to be the time that my dad taught me my first 4 chords. And so after that, I was listening to Brooke Fraser. And
Osana.
she was my favorite. And I remember she wrote this line. And she said, if I add, if I subtract, if I take it all, try to win some back, I've forgotten the freedom that comes from the fact that you are the sum and you are the one I want. And then I realized, like, when I was listening to that song, I was like, that song just gave me so much freedom. How much more if I write it? How much more if the words came from my heart? And so that's when I started my therapy of songwriting. And then I would let my tita Mayan and my tito Steve hear it, my parents hear it. And by the time I was 13 or 14, my tita Mayan was friends with this guy who discovered Sam Milby. And she sent my songs to to Tito Erickson Raimundo.
Mm.
And I've been in Cornerstone since I was 14, 15.
Wow.
They actually, I don't think a lot of people know this, but the demo that I made was made by Jaco Benin. My very first demo. Siya yung nag-produce, siya nag-arrange. Tapos yung kumanta sa demo was Clara Benin. Yeah. My very first song ever, she sang the demo of my song. The songs that I wrote, I didn't feel like they were gonna ever be heard. Malaya was an outlet song. Tagu-taguan was an outlet song. They were never supposed to be heard by people. We put them out and then there was a career out of it.
Pero growing up, sino-sino yung mga nilook up mo ng mga artist noon?
Actually, it was Brooke for a long time.
Yeah.
And Hilary Duff.
Hilary Duff.
Lizzie McGuire. But I didn't really listen to a lot of artists before. See, Brooke Fraser was one of them, but Mercy Me, Casting Crowns, Hillsong.
Puro worship.
Yeah.
Those were like
worship
the
music.
only music that I listened to. My mom had like a few CDs of Richard Poon and Lea Salonga. So those are the only ones that I listened to. Other than that, wala na.
And it feels home to be around with someone na same sa atin, na we grew up in church, we're worship leaders. And ako talaga, pag tinatanong ako, anong music influence mo? Still, majority of it, I would say about 80% still church music until now.
Yeah.
It's still the same. Like, kasi yun yung nagbibigay sa akin ng
Maverick
drive.
City, have you
Yeah,
heard?
man.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so
True.
good.
Ako kasi, in my experience, nung sa church ako nagsimula, dun talaga ako natuto eh.
Yeah.
Like, hindi ko alam yung mga terms. Basta kakanta ka lang kahit minsan wala ka sa tono.
Ako
Ganun.
wala pa rin on terms. 5, 3, 3, 1,
5, 3, 2.
2,
2.5.
8.
Wala na 8.
Hindi, merong 8. Balik lang.
Octave.
Octave.
Musical terms yan sa mga ano.
Alien.
Ano yan?
Alien
chord,
terms.
chord functions.
Oo.
1, 2, 3.
Tapos, paano naman siya nag-transition dun sa time na you joined several singing contests?
I only joined once. The Voice lang.
Diba?
Oh.
So that was your first and the last.
First and the last.
Grabe
I'm not
naman.
competitive kasi. I don't like competition. As much as possible, I like collaborations, as you can see. I like singing with someone. Like, I remember when I used to gig with Keiko, I always liked singing with her more than singing on my own. When I was singing with Keiko or I was singing with my band, I always felt like extra confident.
Yeah.
There's still like a lot of issues like with self-worth and like confidence that I'm working on. Definitely have improved since before, but at that time I really didn't like competitions. And when they told me to join The Voice, I thought that the whole competition nakatalikod sila. So sabi ko, sige, okay ako dyan. But it wasn't. After one turn, they were gonna face you the whole time, and I was too nervous. I didn't like competition. It was amazing that from being in a competition and only surviving until the second round, I became a judge. That's just a God thing. That's a God thing. That's not a me thing. Grabe, Japs. 8 years.
8 years ago. Totoy pa ako nun eh. Iba pa yung buhok ko dun.
Yung buhok mo
Naka-ano pa eh.
Sharky boy.
Sharky boy.
Ikaw, ano yung experience mo nung nag-The Voice ka?
Gaya nga nung sabi ni Moy, sobrang hirap pag-competition. Yung akala mo confident ka na sa sarili mo, pero pag nandun ka na sa stage,
Yeah.
ibang-iba na. Yung hindi mo na marinig yung sarili mo. Hindi mo na, yung kabog ng dibdib mo, grabe na.
Tapos naririnig mo nagsa-soundcheck yung mga iba.
Oo, tapos ikaw hindi ko
May time, si Moira set, nag-rehearse siya, nakaupo, nag-whistle. Sabi ko, hindi ko kaya yan. Ayoko dito.
Maybe a lot of people watching us right now are music fans, and a lot of them are also interested in joining contests, because usually ganun yung path, lalo na dito sa Pilipinas. Like you join a contest, you get discovered, and then you make it, you know. Pero a lot of people get disheartened when they join and they feel like they're not good enough, especially when they don't win or they don't make it. Pero we're all here. We're all eliminated. I didn't even get to the finals.
Did you join?
not The Voice, a different talent search. Pero suki din talaga ako ng mga talent search. Actually, in The Voice, we were supposed to do the blind auditions already. Like, may schedule na ako, briefing na. But last moment, we were pulled out. And I felt so bad. Sabi ko, Lord, bakit naman gano'n? Parang, bakit mapupunta pa ako dun sa blind auditions? Parang, ready na lahat, ready na yung song namin, tapos biglang, you'll pull us out. And I couldn't understand. Pero, sabi sa akin nung mentor ko na, you know, you're made for something that's bigger than that. And you just have to hold on. Because maybe there's a different path for you. And, I could relate with Moy. Gaya nung kumanta ako ng solo, hindi parang hinahanap ko kayo yung ganun. Hindi ko kaya parang kaya ko makantay ng buo to, ganun. Siguro learning it from church na we always have singers around
Worship
us.
talaga.
Yeah, and when you grow up in worship, it's not, people aren't looking at you.
Yeah.
They close their eyes about God.
True.
And then all of a sudden, you're put on a stage where all eyes are on you. So it's so different.
Tapos pag sa worship kasi, pag napagod ka, okay lang, kanta
You
kayo,
sing.
di ba? Pero pag solo mo, maabot, watermelon. Yung gano'n, pero walang tunog.
Sabi nga nila, pag mag-isa ka,
You're alone.
You'll go fast.
You'll go fast.
Pero if you're with people,
You'll go far.
yes.
Yes.
And
nice.
si Moira ay isa sa mga patunay na kahit hindi ka man manalo sa isang competition, the competition will not define your career.
Yes.
Na kung ikaw man ay na-eliminate, ikaw man ay natanggal sa isang competition, don't end the journey just because that competition did not appreciate your talent or it wasn't your best performance. Because napakadami din na artist na hindi naman nanalo, pero nag-excel kasi tinuloy nila yung pangarap nila.
Nagpursige.
And I remember nung na-eliminate ako, tinanong ako ni Kuya Drew. Sabi niya, so ano nang gagawin mo ngayon? Like, na-eliminate ka, ano na? Sabi ko, nagpapasalamat ako sa show na to dahil pinatunayan ng show na to sa akin na gusto ko talaga to. And I will keep working hard because I want this. This is where I feel like this is where I belong. So if you say no to me, a lot of people will say yes eventually.
Yeah.
But you just have to stay there. Because
Yeah.
sometimes people quit too easily. Na parang, hindi ako natanggap, hindi ako nanalo. Ayoko na, hindi para sa akin.
Yeah.
Na.
God gave me this word and he said, because I was asking God, I was like, God, I feel so rejected over and over and over. My voice is not high enough. It's not strong enough. It's not good enough. Someone even said I'm not anointed enough. Like things like that. And it just hurt me. And then God said, rejection doesn't define my plans for you.
Yeah.
Rejection doesn't define what I have for you. At competitions, they don't define the big plans that I have for you. I do. And he said, you don't even pave your own way. I pave your way. All you have to do is follow. And so I love that I had to go back. And then when I went back, a year later, that's when my career started happening. But that was 9 years of waiting.
Yeah. 9 years.
Yeah.
And it's so securing also. Nakaka-secure na parang I'm here not because I think I'm good or not because I'm better than other artists. I'm here simply because God made a way for me to be here.
Yes.
Ako ganyan lagi. Parang, may mas magaling, may mas pogi, may mas matangkad, mas...
It's okay.
Yeah, I know.
Yung tangkad. It's okay.
Sabi sa Bible parang, He has set my feet on a rock, a firm
Yes.
place where I could stand
Yes.
firm. And many will see and fear and believe in God. So parang I feel like it's so securing na naiintindihan natin na nandito tayo hindi dahil for some reason God allowed us to be here. And that's all. That's what secures us. Na as long as God is still asking me to be here, as long as the purpose is here, as long as the calling is here, that's enough. I just give my best and God does everything else.
He was telling me about your journey as a band and how you faced so many rejections, so many unfair things. You weren't treated right. You weren't treated with respect as artists, which blows my mind because you guys are one of the most amazing bands I've ever met and most anointed. We were recording yesterday and tapos kayo yung gumawa ng track. Tapos pinapakinggan namin nila Chris Rosales, my keyboardist. Sabi niya, sino itong mga to? Ko the one. Sabi niya, taga-church ba sila? Ko, oo. Sabi niya, sobrang anointed mo eh. And I was like, I can't believe that these people faced so much rejection and faced so much, mistreatment. And then when Carl was telling me about this, he said that, but it's okay. At the end of the day, if God gives you the stage, you go there and you give your best and you're just excellent. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the money. It's not about how people treat you, but it's about how you treat others and how you spread the hope that you're meant to spread. And so I just want to commend you guys because that conversation really inspired me.
Ako, if I may add lang, going back dun sa mga stories niyo about sa The Voice and sa mga competitions na sinalihan niyo, I just realized na parang competition doesn't mean completion. Na kasi di ba sa competition, nawawala yung L, yung love. So parang when you're always competing, parang nagka-compete lang kayo in a way na minsan wala namang pinapapuntahan, parang ganun. So na-realize ko lang na if you have your own unique calling, if you have your own unique personality, then embrace it. Kasi at the end of the day, yun pa rin naman yung ihaharap po sa mga tao.
Yes.
Hindi naman yung hindi naman yung title.
Mali pala tayo nung nasalihan, Jack.
Oo.
Completion pala kaya.
Nasingit ko lang.
Ako may tanong ako kay Moy.
Go.
Ano yung isang bagay or mga bagay na nag-push sa'yo para i-pursue talaga yung pangarap mo?
God. Really.
Yeah.
My calling.
Yeah.
My calling and the people that go through the same things I went through. Because at that time, I grew up in Olongapo. So I was in Olongapo until I was 16, 17. Hindi naman uso yung depression sa probinsya eh.
Oo. Arte lang yan.
Arte lang yun eh. So hindi ko alam, parang nasa-suppress ako. And feeling ko hindi ako validated. Na feeling ko mali lang ako, may mali akong ginagawa. Pero hindi ko naintindihan na chemical imbalance na pala siya. Na may nangyari pala in the past na validates me to feel the same, to feel how I was feeling at that moment. But at that time, I didn't know anyone. I couldn't talk to anyone about it because I didn't know how to express my emotions. And so, when I started writing songs, and then I'd let my friends hear it, they started telling me na somehow I feel comforted that you put into words what I couldn't. And that just drove me to doing it more because like with calling, for example, you can't do your calling, you can't live out your calling if you feel like you're alone, if you feel like no one understands, if you feel like you're just on rock bottom. But the moment that you feel validated, the moment that you feel that you are heard, seen, and loved, you suddenly start rising again. You suddenly start standing up again for yourself, for your calling. And somehow I wanted my songs to be that way, to empower people enough, to show them, okay, this is the pain. You're not alone in it. I get you. Now go.
Nice.
So I think that's what drove me because for a long time of waiting, that's what I didn't get. That's the friend I didn't have. So now that I'm here, I want to be that friend through my music.
Galing. So good.
Grabe.
Sa music style mo ba, have you ever thought of parang changing your genre kasi it doesn't fit to other people's standards or expectation, ganun?
Mag-ala Ariana Grande.
Ganun.
Kasi may era sa Philippines dati na ganun eh.
Biritan.
Na biritan
Oo,
talaga.
talaga.
Yeah.
Oo.
Of course. For a long time, I had an identity crisis because I felt like what I liked singing wasn't accepted. And nafa-frustrate ako kasi lahat ng kanta halos hindi ko abot or I have to change the key. At that time, I didn't have a band. I didn't know you could transpose. It was just the -1 on your cassette tape and that's it. That's all you have to sing. My tita pa and my mom, they were in theater before, so they really can belt.
Yeah.
You know, and
Belters
then
talaga.
there's me. And then so, ang hirap mahalin ng sarili kapag hindi mo maabot yung gusto mong maabot. You know, it's so hard to accept myself or empower myself when when I couldn't be who everyone wanted me to be.
Yeah.
And then that's what actually drove me to write my songs even more. Because at least abot ko. Kontrolado ko yung key, yung words, yung lahat. I realized also, how will I empower people to be themselves if I try to change myself?
Galing.
And so it's been a great season of just loving God more so I can learn to love myself.
Tama. Merong kanta nga eh. Tapos ang sabi dun sa kanta parang, what if what you want to be is you? Diba? Parang yung exactly na kung sino ka.
Nice.
Kung sino ka ngayon. What if yung hinahangad mo or dinedesire mo na maging ikaw is actually the now you, the now version of
happening
you,
ngayon.
diba? It's happening now. And maybe yun yung nami-miss out din natin na parang i-embrace natin kung ano yung meron tayo ngayon.
Yeah.
Kasi doon magsisimula yung joy eh. Yung
Yeah.
joy and it will overflow eventually. At
Yeah.
makikita din ng ibang tao na yan, self-love, di ba?
Yeah, love
Saka
yourself.
gusto ko yung
Pero
sinabi
sobrang
ni,
hirap nun.
Oo.
gusto ko yung sinabi ni Moy na parang kailangan i-accept mo muna yung yung sarili mo talaga. Kasi kagaya nga ng sabi natin ng mga nakakaraan, parang paano mo i-share sa iba yung wala ka, di ba?
Yeah.
So, kitang-kita naman natin kay Moy ngayon na parang sobrang dami nakaka-relate. Kasi yung story behind that is tinanggap mo na ni Moy yung story na yon sa kanya. Yung mga pinagdaanan niya na yun.
Si Moy kasi, well, you don't know this, but when you shared about your conditions, autoimmune condition, diba, yung skin condition mo and everything, you were sharing about it. I just appreciate how bold you are and how transparent you are in sharing your imperfections and the struggle to love yourself, because that's one of the hardest things to admit, that you don't like yourself. And maybe a lot of people are watching and saying, buti pa sila. Madali naman i-accept yung sarili kasi, maputi sila, maganda sila, maganda yung ano nila. Pero, this resounds so loud to me because I also struggle with that. There's a lot of things about me that are so difficult to accept and to love. And it's so easy to talk about loving yourself. But when you're aware of your flaws, when you're aware of your imperfections, when you're confronted with the reality that there are times when you really aren't good enough, minsan ang hirap yakapin ng sarili. And I just want to speak to the people who are also struggling to not just know themselves, but love the person that they discover eventually na, eto pala ako, parang, okay, ito pala yung laman ng puso ko, ito pala yung mga insecurities ko, na it's a process. Like, you don't need to parang feel so bad na, bakit di ko mahal yung sarili ko? May mali ba sa akin? Maybe it's a journey na the more you submit to God what's wrong with you. Lagi ako ganun, Lord, ito yung problema sa akin. And I feel so helpless because sino bang may gusto na may mali, may problema sa sarili niya na the more you obey God, the more God shows His grace over that imperfection, over that problem. Sabi nga sa Bible, diba, my grace is sufficient in such a way that when you're weak, that's when you're strong. So that you will not be boastful, but all the more, it will put you to your knees. And when you receive God's strength, that's when you're actually really strong. And I just want to take this time to admit that I have a lot of conditions. Right now, I have a condition. And sobrang hirap kasi it involves my hair. And people sometimes identify me, si Kulot, ang ganda ng buhok niya kasi sobrang curly ka na. But people don't know that it's a struggle to show up to work. Because I have this condition, it's called alopecia areata, where you get bald patches randomly. Like, trip lang niya. Parang it's in your genes and trip lang niya na bigyan ka ng poknat. And I've been struggling with it. I get healed and then I get it again, and I don't know why. Sometimes it's triggered by stress, sometimes it's diet. And Kaya ang daming bawal sa akin na pagkain, ang dami kong iniiwasan, ganyan. Nagkakape ako kunyari, pero decaf na kasi bawal na ako sa caffeine. And I get injections every other week. And then I show up to work and I'm with this handsome young man. So I need to, look good. There's a time may shooting kami ng TVC and I just didn't have the energy to wake up and have to cover the bald patch. Na parang, other artists, they go to the dressing room, they get fixed. Ako parang, before I even leave the hotel room, I can't even face the van driver because it's so big and well, you don't see it. But I struggle with that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wake up and it's so hard to love myself. Parang, maybe if I just look a bit taller, maybe I would love myself. Maybe if I had more hair in this bald patch, maybe I would love myself and maybe I would do better. But every day it's a decision to say, Lord, kahit meron ako nito, if you give me a chance to share hope and to live out my purpose, I will. But it's a struggle. It's not easy. And I just want to encourage everyone who are struggling with accepting and loving themselves. I know it's not easy, but buti na lang may Diyos. Buti na lang itong ginagawa natin, it's not about us. It's about the platform that God has allowed us to live out. And thank you for sharing all these things because it gives me the confidence to also accept myself na I'm here not because maganda yung buhok ko. I'm here not because guwapo ako or magaling ako. I'm here simply because of one thing. God has called me to do this.
Yeah.
And I'll just give it my best.
Ako gusto ko lang appreciate si Kuya Carl kasi pag may condition ka na ganun, sobrang hirap eh. Pero every time na nakikita ko siya every morning, talagang nag-e-effort siya na sa pagkain niya, dapat ganito, ganyan. Kasi iba parang nakikita na, arte naman ni Carl, ganito, ganyan. Ang dami niya requirements and all, pero hindi nila nakikita yung struggle na pinagdadaanan niya. So, me first hand, kasi lagi kami magkasama, so, nakikita ko yung struggle niya. So, yun. Naiyak din ako kasi nakikita ko yung journey niya. So, yun. Na-appreciate ka namin kasi sobrang discipline niya sa pagkain. Kahit wala nang time, nag-workout pa rin siya kasi kailangan niya basta ang point is, sobrang disciplined niya kahit na may ganun siyang condition. So, yun. Gusto ko lang namin i-appreciate. And we're here to tell you na accepted namin kung sino ka.
Yeah.
Kung ano pa man yun. So, yun. Mahal ka naman, bro.
Part na ba ako ng Juans?
Yeah.
Moy once.
Para dun sa mga tao na hindi nila matanggap yung sarili nila. Yung parang tayo, tapos parang yung calling na lang yung parang nagbibigay ng drive. Paano kaya nila malalaman or paano sila magiging sensitive kay God kung paano yung calling nila tapos paano nila sisimulang mahalin yung sarili nila?
I remember this line that we wrote. This is a song about self-love. And you know how it's so hard to let people in because you feel like they're just gonna leave. A lot of times we feel na yung reason for that is because naiwan na tayo dati. Pero madalas din ang reason is because kung ako nga nahihirapan mahalin sarili ko, paano pa kaya yung ibang tao?
Yeah.
So, may sinulat kaming phrase na, "Huwag kang lalapit, dyan ka lang, at baka makita ang lahat ng aking kahinaan, na pilit kong tinakpan." And ang daming fears na ganun. But it really starts with knowing how much God loves you. When you start surrounding yourself with a community who reminds you of that, you will know na hindi kayo mahirap mahalin. Hindi tayo mahirap mahalin. But that's the main lie that the enemy wants to plant in our heads every single morning. You are so hard to love. You are hard to fight for. You are hard to admire. But if we were fought for, if God gave His own Son to die on the cross for us, then that's a lie. And I want you to know, Carl, you are not hard to love. You're one of the easiest people to love and one of the greatest encouragers I've ever met. And now, now I know what God has done to empower you that way. He has definitely conquered all your weaknesses. There was a song called Safe that I wrote with Victory Worship. And in the bridge of that, the original bridge was actually, 'di ba, my weakness covered by your strength. The real bridge was, you are never far away, always reaching out to save. My weakness conquered by your strength, and I am found forever safe. Because it's not just covered up, it's conquered.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's done. We have the victory over our fears, over our anxieties. The weakness he has turned into strengths, just like how he has turned you into from being insecure to such an inspiration to so many people.
Thanks, Moy. Ako ba yung guest dito?
Welcome to
So knowing nung lahat ng napagkwentuhan natin, ano yung ma-advise nyo sa tao na hinihintay pa yung ika nga break nila sa buhay, na yung chance nila to show their talent, to show what they're made of?
do your best where you are and love yourself where you are. It's easy to love ourselves when we're pumped and starting. Easy to love ourselves when we've finished the goal and everyone's cheering. Not easy to love ourselves when we're in the middle of the desert waiting for a mountain. But the worth that you had then and the worth that you will have in the future is the same worth that you have now in the middle. Like what Carl reminded me a few weeks ago, that you have to do your best where you are, wherever you're placed. You have to be faithful with what you're given before God can entrust you the big stage. He has to see that you valued all the little stages that He gave you first.
Tsaka huwag sila tumigil na kahit isa na yung nakikinig sa kanila. Tuloy pa rin nila yung ginagawa nila. And darating pa rin yung time na yun.
And there's something so attractive about people who are content. There's something so attractive with people who are grateful, who chooses gratitude over bitterness, you know?
Yeah.
And actually, it's not just attractive, it attracts favor. Obedience and gratitude and trust in the Lord attracts favor wherever you are.
If there's one thing na natutunan nyo sa napagkwentuhan natin, ano yan?
Ako yung kakasabi lang ni...
Oh! Akala ko kwento ni Juan. Kwentuhan pala.
Welcome po.
Welcome po.
Welcome sa KwentoJuan.
Kuya Carl, intro mo na. Intro mo na si Moira.
Meron nga akong naisip kapag si Moy naman yung gagawa ng podcast.
Ano?
Kamoystahan.
Gawa mo to, no? Ikaw nagpangalan dito, no?
Gusto ko yung sinabi ni Moy na last, yung content attracts favor. Kasi I'm so blessed that I'm surrounded with a group of people na driven pa rin.
Yes.
Na iba kasi yung iba yung drive ka kasi may mga gusto kong patunayan. Pero I'm so grateful na ayan sila Carl, sila RJ, sila Japs, si Kael, tsaka yung The Ones group.
Parang iba yung you're showing up not in a place of parang competition, but
Yes.
parang in victory. Na knowing na wala ka naman kailangan patunayan. Knowing na parang kahit naman sino ka, tanggap ka ng mga tao sa paligid mo. At the end of the day, parang mahal lang natin isa't isa. Kaya natin ginagawa yung best natin. Parang gano'n.
I shared this with Hannah. I just want to share. Hannah Pangalinan's interview. And she was talking about depression. And we were talking about people who wanted to give up. Because there's depression, there's anxiety, especially with everything that's happening in our world now. Ang daling sumuko. Ang daling tumigil. Ang daling umiba na lang ng path kasi masyado mahirap to. Okay, I'll ask you guys. If you were to be a car, what would you be?
I would be Honda Civic.
Yun, Honda Civic. If you're a Honda Civic and you're passing through EDSA, are you EDSA?
No.
No, you're still a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
You're just passing through.
Yeah.
And it's the same with depression and anxiety. When we're passing through depression and anxiety, that doesn't define us. We're just passing through.
Yeah.
But if we stop there, then that'll define how we ended our calling. But if we keep going, then we're defined by who God has called us to be.
Nice.
Para sa akin, ina-admire ko yung sa story ni Moira, yung acknowledging all the rejections na pinagdaanan niya. Siguro pinanghinaan siya ng loob pero hindi siya tumigil. Hindi siya nag-stop. Kasi what if kung tumigil siya, hindi na mako-convey yung message, hindi na magta-travel yung message of hope eh. Pero dahil nagpursige siya, bumangon siya nung araw na hindi niya feel na mag-show up, I'm just a vessel of a grand message.
Yeah.
Your calling, your purpose in life is bigger than you.
Yeah.
So parang in moments that you feel like giving up, always remember na may mga tao na may mai-inspire kang tao na merong makaka-relate sa storya mo. So parang pag sumuko ka ngayon, paano na yung mga tao na yun? Parang ganun.
Just to wrap up, not just this conversation, but this whole show, ano bang point nitong KwentoJuan? Maybe a lot of our listeners are wondering, bakit ba biglang nag-podcast yung The Juans? Music dapat sila. They should be singing.
Host si Carl dati.
No.
Miss niya na mag-host.
Partly, but no. Because we wanted to tell a story. Because after this, hindi naman to spoiling jobs, talaga namang mangyayari. After this, we're gonna move on releasing new songs. But we just wanted to take an opportunity na hindi lang magpasaring through lyrics, but to really directly tell people and to be transparent na, yo, we're not holding back. We're not like squeezing Jesus in with what we do. We're all about Him. This is all about Him. Like, we're all about that. And at this point, if you don't like us anymore, that's fine. But if you're inspired by this and you want to know that person that caused us to be this, then tune in because we're always gonna talk about it. As we conclude the show, kaya sobrang excited daw because you're here. And people recognize us because of our Hugot songs.
Yeah.
And people will always say, inaano ba kayo? Bakit ba kayo nananakit? Tapos parang, eto na naman si Moira, mananakit na naman. Tapos, eto na naman yung The Juans, mananakit na naman. Naalala ko anong asap natin, double kill daw eh. Kasi parang, Moira tas The Juans, double kill. And this is a good opportunity to explain why we feel like in this time and in our generation, Hugot is essential. More than lugaw, Hugot is essential. Because a lot of people have no opportunity and have no space to actually confront what's inside them. Now that we have a platform, we have an opportunity to touch people's lives. We felt like God is calling us to write Hugot songs. Not because we want to hurt people, but we want to help people be honest with their real feelings. Not to invalidate their feelings, but to actually confront it and say, bakit ka ba nalulungkot sa Malaya? Malamang kasi may pinagdadaanan ka na similar, na baka hindi mo pinaharap kasi dinidistract mo yung sarili mo sa social media or dinidistract mo sa ibang bagay. But the goal and the objective and the purpose does not end with Hugot. It should progress from Hugot to healing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so happy to have you here. Because that's what you're all about. And you're very open in telling people na Hugot is not the end of the story. It's just the starting point of healing.
Yeah.
It's just, Hugot is making sure that what couldn't be healed because it was hidden would be acknowledged so that there is freedom after.
Yeah.
Our music reminds people that what stays hidden cannot be healed. Pag may sugat ang isang tao, masasabi mo ba dun sa tao na, hindi, wala kang sugat? Diba? But, pag may sugat yung tao, we hide it, right? We hide it. But, when we hide it in Band-Aids, you're right, it takes longer to heal.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't heal properly. But, when you expose it, put the right treatments on it, then it'll heal properly. And so, with our Hugot songs, it's not really telling them na, oy, may sugat ka. It's telling them that, okay, I get it, may sugat ka, but you have to heal properly.
Yung sakit mo, kailangan mo minsan dumaan sa x-ray para makita na may tama pala yung baga mo. And sometimes those songs actually reveal what's inside of you.
Yeah.
And when you start to spot what's wrong with you, then you have an opportunity to get the right treatment, to get the right way of dealing with them and healing. Pero just recalling na sometimes our responses to things, sometimes the depression comes from a trauma that wasn't dealt with when we were young.
Yeah.
And the more traumas and the more pain and the more sugat we hide, the more complicated things will get eventually. Like ako, marami akong, di ba, may mga issues nga tayo sa sarili natin. And I remember my kuya telling me na, sometimes it's just out of trauma. Like, you respond out of, when you were young, this happened, and this is what you experienced. So you always also associate things with that.
Yeah.
For example, I hated video games. Because nung bata kami, yung mga kuya ko, naglalaro lagi ng video game.
Hindi ako kasali.
Oo, tatlo kami nun eh. So, silang dalawa lang. Hindi ako kasali. So, games make me feel alienated. And just a few months ago, I struggled with that kasi naglalaro sila ng ML. And I hated it. Like, I would be tricked. Mawawala ako sa mood pag nakita ko sila naglalaro. But then, kinausap ko yung kuya ko. Sinabi ko sa kanya, ito, I don't know what's wrong with me. And then my kuya said, well, go back when we were kids. What happened? And naalala ko, nga, nung bata ako, I feel alienated whenever you play because you never include me. And I never get good at it because I never get a chance to play with you guys.
Yes.
And I feel like pag nagbabonding tayo, pag may computer na, that will steal you away from me.
Yeah.
So I had to deal with that. I had to forgive them. Sabi nung kuya sa akin, forgive me. Forgive us. Over the phone to kasi pandemic. So, Lord, I forgive them.
Yung pastor niya, kuya niya din.
Yeah, my brother kasi is a pastor. So, I had to deal with that. And now, okay na ako na nag-MLC. Minsan na lang ako nainis. Pagka
Hindi, kasama ko na nga siya naglalaro eh. Nag-8.
Naglaro
ball
na
na
rin
lang.
siya.
8 ball.
Billiards.
Gamer na si Kuya Carl.
Yun. So anyway, going back to the summary of this whole thing, ang gusto lang naman namin sabihin dito sa buong season na to, 12 episodes, is there's a story behind the music. But the goal is simple. We want to help people heal. We want to help people deal with their pain. And not just deal with their pain, but to move forward in life.
Yes.
So we would always end with darating ang umaga. We would always end with ikaw at ako, atin pa din ang mundo. As long as we have God in our lives, the world is ours. Like,
As long as we have God in our lives, hope will always come.
yeah.
Pag-asa ay parating.
Yes.
Okay.
Pag-asa ay
Parating.
Yes. Ako pwede ba ako magsingit ng super last question? Sorry na.
Go.
Ano,
Di na daw.
one practical tip para mas mahalin mo yung sarili mo.
Pagkagising mo sa umaga, tingin ka sa salamin. Sabihin mo, uy, gwapo mo. Uy, ganda mo.
Be the first
Self-affirmation
encouraging.
is-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ganun din ako.
Oo.
Remind yourself of how God loved you so much. Kasi pag naintindihan mo yung pagmamahal ni Lord sa'yo, mas madali mong mahalin yung sarili. Kasi kung si Lord nga, nasa Kanya na lahat ng bagay, minahal pa rin niya ako.
Be kind to your body. You know, when you're in a relationship, tas hindi ka tinatrato ng tama, di ba gusto mong umalis? Pero pag tinrato ka ng tama, gusto mong pakasalan. So, treat yourself so kind that you'd wanna marry yourself.
Marry yourself.
Tsaka maniwala ka sa sarili mo na may something great
Yes.
sa sarili mo.
Yeah. And also, I find that the more you empower and celebrate others, the easier it is to celebrate yourself. Because when you compare yourself, when you put people down,
Yeah.
it dilutes you of confidence.
Totoo.
But when you empower, when you encourage, when you uplift, your spirit also grows.
And
Yeah.
gusto ko lang i-insert. Sorry, well, free flow naman to eh. Episode 13 na daw to.
Season 2, welcome to KwentoJuan.
Kamuistahan.
No, but with empowering other people, gusto ko lang i-relate doon yung self-love. Kasi baka nami-misinterpret tayo ng mga tao na when we say self-love, ibig sabihin lahat sa akin, lahat ng ikakasaya ko,
Parang
akin.
selfish na.
Oo, parang lahat ng to, self-love pala is not selfish. So, dapat ako lahat. Dapat
Yes.
emotion ko yung valid. Dapat pag may emotion ako, i-validate mo. Pagka in-invalidate mo, mali ka na. Ganun. When we say self-love, it means choosing the best for us.
Yes.
And that does not always mean pleasure. It
Yeah.
doesn't always mean me first.
Yes.
Minsan, loving yourself and being good to yourself sometimes mean having to pick the difficult choices because that's the best for you.
Yeah.
So it's not always about dapat ako muna bago sila. At this moment, if God is teaching you discipline, you pick discipline because that's the best for yourself. And that is in itself self-love.
Yes. Actually, I resonated with your story kanina na sobrang disciplined niya. And na-inspire ako dun kasi I'm still learning to be disciplined with how I take care of my body. Just like your alopecia, my PCOS restricts me from a lot. And I learned that when I exercise in the morning and I meditate and I eat well, not like eat like well, but like eat healthy, like eat right. I get to look at myself in the mirror and see a woman of integrity and I like her. Before, I was so affected because I wasn't taking care of myself. But taking care of ourselves and being kind to ourselves is also like an armor to protect ourselves from whatever, because you know that you're enveloped with God's love and your love for yourself.
We could go on. We just could go on and on. And this is what's beautiful about Moira. But I just want to thank you for
Thanks,
For-
guys.
letting us borrow
Your small, very small amount of
time
time here
to
in
be
the
with us.
Philippines.
Baliw.
to hear from you.
Saan
And
ako pupunta?
sa lahat ng naging guest namin, ikaw lang nakapagpaiyak sa akin. But no, thank you for your encouragement. Thank you
We've
for...
been crying together for
for
9 years.
Yeah. And sobrang grateful kami sa'yo, Moy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Not just for being generous with your time, but being generous with your platform.
Yes.
Nung ginawa natin yung hatid sa ASAP, it was actually because of her. She asked.
Yeah. Biglaan lang yun.
Oh,
diba?
na parang, uy, can you allow us not to do it? Tapos parang sabi nung sa, oh, sige, wala siya magagawa.
Ganun ko
Bukas
talaga tinanong.
Yun, so you're so generous not just with your time but even with your platform. And we're gonna be doing things together this year. And
Excited.
wala kang idea gaano kami kakilate na we finally get to work with you. Na parang dati sa bar, di ba, pag may gigs, napaka-generous niya na aakyat siya, makikiganta siya sa atin kahit wala namang TF, di ba? And now we get to do it all over again. But now, with a clearer view of our purpose and of our calling, and with the confidence that comes from God, with a message that's better than any other message, with not just hugot but healing.
Yeah.
So thank you,
And
Moy.
Thank you.
And hope.
I love you
Pag-asa.
guys.
Ay,
Thank
thank
you so
you,
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. At sa lahat ng mga nakikinig at nanonood
Yes.
dito, sana may natutunan kayo at may napulot kayo dito sa aming conversation.
Yeah.
Moy, is there anything that you wanna invite people to watch
Yeah,
or listen
plug.
to or abangan? Secret
God
lahat.
bless.
Bless everyone.
No, I am currently finishing writing my next album, which is Spring, with my husband. And also, I have exciting collaborations coming very, very soon.
Yes.
So
Parating.
please watch out for that. Parating na po.
Anong message mo, Moy, pala sa lahat ng mga milyon-milyong tao na nakikinig ng kanta mo
Yes.
at talaga namang, alam mo, pag tinignan mo sa YouTube yung mga views, yung mga listeners, parang, oh, grabe. Everyone's listening to you. Last na to, message mo sa akin.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You all always leave me so speechless. But thank you for accepting me, for letting me be your friend, and for trusting me enough to walk with you through music. Thank you so much.
Wow. Thank you, Moy. We love you
Thanks,
so
guys.
much. We're very
Thank you.
proud of you.
I love you guys. I'm so proud of you guys. I will never stop saying this, that I am so proud to be your friend.
Aww.
Likewise, even more.
Yeah.
Wow.
Likewise.
Even more. And
Yeah.
with that, we want to thank everybody. Thank you for joining us
Yes.
for the past 12 episodes.
Yeah.
And we might actually have more, but we will see.
Yeah.
We'll
Abangan.
see. Abangan nyo. But nonetheless,
Yeah.
KwentoJuan with Moy.
yeah. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And this has been
KwentoJuan.
With Moy.
Saan nagsimulang magbago ang lahat? Kailan nung ako'y di na naging sapat? Ba't di mo sinabi nung una pa lang ako ang kailangan, pero di ang mahal? Saan nagkulang ang aking pagmamahal? Lahat ay binigay ng mapangiti ka lang. Ba't di ko nakita nung una pa lang ako ang kasama, pero hanap mo siya? At kung masaya ka sa piling niya, hindi ko na pipilit pa. Ang tanging hiling ko lang sa kanya, huwag kang paluhain at alagaan din niya. Pinapapaya at kita naman sa iyong mga mata kung bakit pinili mo siya. Mahirap